As many of you know, Star Wars Episode 9 was almost quite different. Actually, not just quite different, it was almost completely different, i.e., there was an earlier version of Episode 9 written by Colin Trevorrow, the director most well known for his work on the Jurassic World series. Trevorrow had a whole different end to the Skywalker saga known as Duel of the Fates. A lot of people like that movie. I think there are some elements that are really quite neat, but I also think it would have been an absolute disaster for Star Wars as a whole. I initially started this video as a focus on one particular character, Tor Valum, and I am going to start the video off by looking at him. However, later on I want to discuss the major thematic missteps that Star Wars would have made had it followed Trevorrow's script. Before I get too negative though, I do want to acknowledge that this episode 9, from a plot perspective, purely plot, did some really cool things, and we even see strands of that in The Rise of Skywalker. For example, it was Trevorrow's idea to have Lando show up to help defeat the First Order with smugglers from across the galaxy. Obviously that changed a little bit, but you get the idea. Trevorrow also openly mined the source material for good ideas. This movie would have opened on Kuat, with the Resistance stealing, and I'm not joking, the Eclipse-class Super Star Destroyer as it appeared in Legends. Rey and Kylo Ren would have battled on Mortis. Yeah, Mortis from the Clone Wars. The Darksaber was present. It would have been wacky in a way that definitely reminds me of Jurassic World, but probably in a fun way. There were also just good ideas generally, like the Stormtrooper rebellion that seemed so obvious after Episode 8 is present in this movie. But let's first talk about Tor Valum. And Tor Valum is a character who I'm glad doesn't exist in Star Wars, to put it mildly. To set things up, Duel of the Fates, like The Rise of Skywalker, had Kylo Ren tracking down the past histories and adventures of Palpatine and Vader, except instead of looking for wayfinders in the path to Exegol, Kylo tracks down a Sith holocron, a holocron which contains a message from Palpatine to Vader. Vader is instructed to travel to the Remnicor system, where he will find Tor Valum, master of the Sith Lord who instructed me. That's a direct quote from Palpatine and indicates that Vader was sent to look for Plagueis' master. Kylo's hope is that he can use Tor Valum to acquire a power greater than other Force wielders, and specifically to harness the power of Mortis itself. So Kylo calls an Uber, he punches in Remnicor, he shows up on the planet, and wouldn't you know it, he stumbles upon a fortress surrounded by evidence of a past battle between the Jedi and Sith. Emerging from wreckage is, and I quote, Tor Valum, 7,000 years old, an alien of unknown origin, spindly intense, sinew and muscle pulled tight. From the beginning, you can tell that Valum is essentially edgier Yoda. He starts off their conversation playing coy, pretending he doesn't know what a Sith Master is or who Darth Plagueis is, but literally 3 lines later, he's making Kylo Ren pledge himself to his teachings and the Sith. Cut away for some off-screen training, and by the time we return to Valum and Kylo Ren, they're neck deep in training, with Tor Valum teaching Kylo how to steal someone's life force. As he does so, the scars on his face, which are evidence of his fall to the dark side, are slowly healing. Valum teaches Kylo that the living force is nourishment. The more one consumes, the stronger one becomes. To take life is to cheat death. Anyway, thankfully Yoda and Tor Valum shared a real estate agent, because Tor also has a dark side cave with Vader in it on standby. Vader defeats Kylo Ren. Kylo emerges from the cave and uses his new essence stealing ability to suck Tor Valum dry, killing the Sith Master. So why don't I like Tor Valum? Well, he's transparently, as I said, just edgier Yoda. One of the awesome things about Yoda is that the emergence of a master from the silly frog-like creature is both shocking and incredibly compelling. Even if you know it's coming, seeing the truly wise nature of Yoda really reverses a lot of what one might expect from the universe. The dude is a Muppet, and he's telling the secrets of life itself. But it's like they saw Yoda and tried to one him up. Yoda's several hundred years old, Tor Valum several thousand. He gives Kylo just a massive power boost, then dies. The idea of it being sort of a dark mirror to what happens in Empire Strikes Back is interesting, but one of the major problems that people have with The Rise of Skywalker is that it does all these things to advance the plot without greater consideration for how the world building and lore will be affected holistically. And Tor Valum is like the worst example of this. It completely destroys the idea of the rule of two. Tor Valum taught Plagueis he was alive at the same time as Plagueis and Palpatine, and what's more, Palpatine is aware that he's still alive and he knows where the dude's living. It makes no sense that Palpatine would know that his greatest rival is still alive and would do nothing about it. It also means that Tor Valum just existed during that entire point we hear about in The Phantom Menace, where the Sith are hiding. He was the great engineer of the plan that brought the Sith to where they are by the time of episode 3, and he's introduced and killed within a couple of paragraphs. That's just not very careful, and it's not great. I like the idea of a creepy looking character. The concept art I've been using throughout this video, that's actually him, but otherwise not great. However, if Tor Valum was the only issue with this version of episode 9, I could have looked past it. However, there's a far more serious issue. I love the way the movie would have ended with Rey creating a new class of Jedi, but in that last bit, you can see the issue. The big lesson that Rey learns, besides, hey, it's good to restart the Jedi, is that what they should be seeking for is balance. I know what you're saying, Justin, that's something Jedi have been saying since the dawn of time. Sort of. But the big revelation in episode 9 is that the Jedi were wrong about balance. Balance is not, as Master Yoda saw it, to see and confront your dark emotions but move past them. No, it's to have both existing within you at once. And this is just a fundamental misunderstanding of what George Lucas was trying to tell us with Star Wars. In her final fight with Kylo, Rey says, "Our masters were wrong. I will not deny my anger and I will not reject my love. I am the darkness and I am the light. You are nothing. You are no one," Kylo says. "No one is no one," Rey responds. By the way, she's not Palpatine's granddaughter in this. She's just some chick. But find the balance within and embrace your dark side. That's worse than somehow Palpatine returned. Later, Yoda and the gang show up. They teleconference in and they admit, hey, we were wrong. Luke says, and I quote, "You chose to embrace the dark side and the light, to find balance within." Yoda's like, hey, that was the right move. Coexist they must, as such feelings do in all of us. He's like, remember all that stuff I said on Dagobah? Nah, I was actually wrong about that. Just be mad, it's all good. Like, it's very obvious that it was this, and we sort of learned about this in a bit before the script was even released, that stopped the movie from going forward. I honestly don't think that Lucasfilm or whoever cares whether Kylo lived or how the specific plot elements worked out. They obviously gave, according to Rian Johnson, lots of leeway in that, but what this movie would have done is ignored literally every thematic message that everything Star Wars gave us before this point. Everything in Rebels, everything in the Clone Wars, everything in the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, pretty much every novel ever says, hey, don't let yourself fear, because that's how Anakin is created. That's how Jason in Star Wars Legends is created. People with good intentions who don't recognize and let go of their fear end up killing kids. It's just such a colossal misunderstanding of the universe that no matter how messy and screwy the episode 9 we got is, at least it's not a shot to the head of Star Wars like this would have been, in my opinion. This would have been like canonizing Grey Jedi and making it so that everyone in hindsight turns into a Grey Jedi. That a Grey Jedi is just a Jedi now. If you like George Lucas's Star Wars, I don't know how you can like this. I just don't. So yeah, no hate to Trevorrow. I just think he's got a kind of wildly different view of the universe than pretty much everyone else. That's okay, but I don't think it needs to, in the 9th inning, literally almost, completely turn things on its head and remove all the past messaging. Like, that is a disaster waiting to happen, in my opinion. But let me know what you think. Do you like the idea of Tor Valum? Do you think that Trevorrow was sort of on the right track with how he envisioned the Force? Would you have been okay with this movie? What did you think before you watched this video when you heard Duel of the Fates? Because I know a lot of people really like it without maybe fully examining what the implications of that would have been. Let me know your thoughts on that and more below.